小咪，我们要继续接着讲的《Mouse and the Motorcycle》。今天下午我们读了第5章，现在要读第几章？第六章。对了，第5章说到 Ralph 骑着那个摩托车离开了215号房去冒险，他差点遇到了一只狗，还有一个男人，对不对？差点被发现。然后呢，回去房间的时候又不顺利。
我来讲。
发生什么事了？他遇到谁？
那个门被锁住，然后一个好像的工作人员叫 Matt，然后他开门，
对，
然后这个就没办法了，因为他妈妈看见了那个小
男孩的妈妈发现的小老鼠，对不对？
他一口，
尖叫啊！
然后爸爸就进来说怎么了，然后他一听到话就哈哈哈，你在做梦吧？
哦，没有人相信他看到一只老鼠骑摩托车，对不对？没有。
然后那个哥哥说，哦，我帮你看看，哦，然后他说晚上，然后那个他躲到，
所以 Keith 就帮他看了一下床下，对不对？然后小老鼠 Ralph 就躲到 Keith 的袖子里面。
然后那个哥哥就是 Kiss 就说晚说，哦，那只是我的摩托车。
对啊，他没有把老鼠的事情告诉爸爸妈妈。好，那我们今天现在要看第6章了，接着读。里面好多字我不会哦，念错了，请原谅我。Chapter 6 A peanut butter sandwich。你要不要吃一口三明治？不行哦，对小麦还有那个花生都过敏。那我们就看看是谁吃了这个 peanut butter sandwich。I told you to be careful, scolded Keith, when his parents had gone to dress and Ralph had curled down his arm into his hand. It wasn't my fault the door blew shut. Ralph jumped from the hand to the bedspread. Though Keith was a friendly boy, even a generous one, Ralph still did not like the feel of skin against his paws. It must be terrible to go through life without fur and such a nuisance, having to wear clothes that had to be washed and drip-dried. Ralph knew all about drip drying. Many were the drops of water from shirts and slips that he had dodged it going in and out of his mouse hole. You didn't have to stay out so late, Keith pointed out as he began to dress. What's the use of having a motorcycle if you can't go tearing around staying out late? Ralph asked reasonably. You don't have a motorcycle, said Keith. I just let you use mine, and you better be careful. I like that motorcycle, and I don't want anything to happen to it. I will take care of it, promised Ralph, somewhat chastened. I don't want anything to happen to it either. It's going to be harder to get a chance to ride it now that my mother has seen you, said Keith. She's a terribly good housekeeper and she's sure to complain to the management. Speaking of breakfast, you people are too tidy, complained Ralph. I'm not getting enough to eat around here. You don't leave any crumbs. I never thought of it, said Keith. What would you like to eat? Ralph was astounded. This was the first time in his life anyone had asked him what he would like to eat. It had always been a question of what he could get his paws on. You mean I have a choice? He asked, incredulous. Sure, said the boy. All I have to do is order when we go down to breakfast and then bring you some. Ralph had to take time to think. After a diet of Zwieback and graham crackers provided by little children, bites of candies, and an occasional peanut or apple core left by medium-sized children, or a crust of toast, and a dab of jam left by an adult who had ordered breakfast sent up from room service. The possibilities of choosing his own meal were almost too much. I know what I like, Ralph said at last. But I don't know what you call it. Once some people who said they were almost out of money stayed in these rooms they had for 4 children, all of them hungry, and they couldn't afford to go to the dining room, so they got some bread and spread it with something brown out of a jar and put some more bread on top of that. They whispered all the time they were eating, because they didn't want the maid or bellboy to know they were having a meal in their room. Afterwards, they all got down on their hands and knees and picked up every single crumb on the carpet, so no one would guess they had eaten in their rooms. It was a great disappointment. It smelled so good, like peanuts, only better. The boy laughed. It was a peanut butter sandwich. Sure, I'll bring you a peanut butter sandwich, or part of one. I will eat part of it myself. It will be kind of a funny breakfast, but I won't mind that. Where will you leave it? Asked Ralph. Keith thought a minute. Where do you live? He asked. In a knot hole under the window. No kidding, Keith laughed. That's the hole I poked my finger in last night. Oh, I'll say you did, said Ralph. Scare me out of a year's growth. Nobody has ever guessed it's a mouse hole because it's a knot hole instead of a chew hole.
怎么揪？
我也不知道 chew hole 是什么。哦，就是被它老鼠咬的洞啦。I tell you what, said Keith. I will bring up part of a peanut butter sandwich and poke it through the knot hole. 这叫什么 knot hole? Just like room service, Ralph could not have been more pleased with the suggestion. 哇哦，这个老鼠会得到客房服务耶，太高级了吧？What about the motorcycle? He asked. Where are you going to leave that? In my suitcase, I guess. Oh, come on, pleaded Ralph. Have a heart. Leave it someplace where I can get it while you're out during the day. You're supposed to be in your mouse hole asleep, not riding around in the daylight where people can see you. Well, gee whiz. Can't a fellow even look at it? Asked Ralph. I bet you like to look at big motorcycles yourself. Yes, I do, admitted the boy. Well, I'll leave it back under the bed like I said, but you promise not to ride it until after dark. Scout's honor! Ralph jumped off the bed and ran off to the knot hole. Ralph's home was furnished with a clutter of things people drop on the floor of a hotel room. Bits of Kleenex, hair, ravelins. His mother was always planning to straighten it out, but she never got around to it. She was always too busy fussing and worrying. Now, as Ralph expected, she was dividing Ray Crisp crumbs among his squeaky bunch of little brothers and sisters while she waited to scold him. Ralph, if I have told you once, I have told you 1,000 times, she began. Guess what? Interrupted Ralph in an attempt to change the subject. Somebody in 215 is going to bring us a real peanut butter sandwich. Ralph, cried his frightened mother. You haven't been associating with people. Oh, he's just a boy, said Ralph, deciding to keep the complete story of the dangers and the glories of the past night to himself. He wouldn't hurt us. He liked mice. But he is a person, said his mother. That doesn't mean he has to be bad, said Ralph. Just like Pop used to say, people shouldn't say all mice are timid just because some mice are. Or that all mice play when the cat's away just because some do. Just that's the same, Ralph, said his mother. I do wish you would be more careful. 你看他让他妈妈担心呢。对啊，妈妈担心他跟人类在一起会被人类伤害啊，会受伤。Whom you associate with, I'm so afraid you will fall in with the wrong sort of friends. I'm growing up, said Ralph. I'm getting too old to hang around a mouse nest all the time. I want to go out and see the world. I want to go down on the ground floor and see the kitchen and the dining room and the storeroom and the garbage cans out back. Oh, Ralph, cried his mother, not the ground floor, not all the way down there. You aren't old enough. Yes, I am, said Ralph stoutly. There's no telling what you might run into down there. Mouse traps, cats, poison. Why, out by the garbage cans you might even be seen by an owl. I don't care, said Ralph. Someday I'm going downstairs. But think of the owls, Ralph, implored his mother. We moved into the hotel because of the owls. It was after your uncle Leary disappeared and his bones were found in an owl pellet. 他的叔叔被猫头鹰吃掉了耶。The mother mouse's plea was interrupted by the sound of keys returning to room 215. 我不知道他为什么被吃掉，但他叔叔就是被猫头鹰吃掉，所以他们才搬到旅馆里啊。No, you will see, said Ralph to his mother and waited, anxious lest his friend let him down. Sure enough, Keith came to the knothole. Psst, psst, he whispered. Here it is. The waitress thought I was crazy, ordering a peanut butter sandwich along with my cornflakes for breakfast. But here it is. He stuffed half a sandwich a bit at a time into the hole, where Ralph seized the pieces and pulled them all the way through. Listen, we're going to be gone most of the day. The dining room is packing us a picnic lunch, and we're going to drive along some of the back roads and visit some old mining towns. Thanks a lot, Ralph managed to say with his mouth watering. Have fun! Sure, see you tonight, said Keith. Have a good day's sleep. Ralph's mother could not help being impressed by the sight of that peanut butter sandwich. Just like room service, she marveled. Why, it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and it even has butter in it. I told you he would bring it, Ralph could not help boasting, even though his mouth was full. After sharing his feast with his squeaky little brothers and sisters, all of whom had trouble with peanut butter sticking to their teeth, Ralph curled up on a heap of shredded Kleenex and took a good long nap. When he awoke, refreshed, his first thought was of the motorcycle. He wondered if Keith really had remembered to leave it under the bed. He yawned and stretched and laughed by way of the knothole. Room 215 was just as Ralph had last seen it. The bed had not been made, and there were no fresh towels by the wash basin. Ralph ducked under the sheets and blankets that had tumbled off one side of the bed, and there in the dim light he caught the gleam of Chromium's exhausted pipes. Keys had trusted him after all. He walked across the carpet and took hold of the hand grips once more. They felt just right in his paws, and he longed to be off, speeding around the threadbare spots of the carpet. But a promise was a promise. Keith had kept his promise about the peanut butter sandwich. Ralph would keep his about not riding the motorcycle in the daytime. He tried to satisfy himself by walking around the motorcycle in the dim light under the bed, admiring all over again the sleek design of the machine. Ralph was lost in admiration and daydreams of speed and power when suddenly the door opened and the maid entered. 糟糕，客房服他开始清扫。It was too late to make a dash for the mouse hole. The maid stripped the blankets and sheets from the bed, shedding unwelcome light on Ralph and the motorcycle. Her feet in white sneakers moved lightly as she gathered up the sheets and pillowcases and towels and dropped them with a soft plop beside the open door. The next thing Ralph knew, he was hearing familiar and dreaded footsteps coming down the hall, steps he had learned to fear when he was a tiny mouse. It was the head housekeeper, the woman who was in charge of all the maids in the hotel. 我感觉好像个女魔头，她其实只是总管大人，对不对？但是她有多可怕呢？我们来看下去。He recognized her steps and he recognized her shoes. Stout, sensible, black Oxfords. Nothing was ever clean enough for the head housekeeper, and Ralph's whole family lived in dread lest she discovered their mouse hole. Now he held his breath, hoping he would go on down the hall, but no, she stepped into room 215. Good morning, Marguerite, the housekeeper spoke crisply to the maid. But sure you cleaned 215 and 216 very thoroughly this morning. There has been a complaint from the guests. They suspect mice. Yes, madam, said the maid. Look behind all the drawers, continued the housekeeper, and in the corners of the closet. Please report any evidence of mice, and be sure you vacuum under the bed. You have been getting careless lately. 他要拿吸尘器吸在床下面了，惨了。With that, she walked briskly down the hall. Old grouch, muttered the maid as she reached into the hall for something that produced a sound that struck terror into Ralph's heart. It was the clank. 他应该不是，应该怕老鼠，我猜。但是他清理的时候可能会不小心伤害到它们呢。It was the clank of vacuum cleaner attachment banging together. 糟糕，他拿来了什么？吸尘器。我下一章就是吸尘器耶。Chapter 7是 vacuum cleaner。讲不下去了，因为好晚了，现在要去洗澡睡觉了。 明天再讲第7章。你现在也喜欢听这个故事的哦？喜欢哦，你喜欢小老鼠的哟。
可是很糟糕哎。
你还害怕它被吸走，对不对？好啦，希望大家期待一下，明天继续讲这个故事，然后。